Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Today marks the 55th anniversary of the young Rascals releasing their last single under that name before changing to the Rascals. I spoke to founder Felix Cavalieri when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band played the Birchmere in 2018, breaking down hits like Good Lovin', Groovin', and A Beautiful Morning. We are joined by Felix Cavalieri, reuniting with Gene Cornish, the founding members, down at the historic Birchmere. Thank you so much for joining us, Felix.
Well, my pleasure. Good to speak to you.
Obviously, we've listened to your songs over the years. Definitely, even our younger listeners, if they think they don't know it, they know these songs. I'm telling you. I assume we'll hear all the hits and any new stuff, too?
Correct. Well, basically, we've put together what I consider to be a great band. And we're going to do as much of the, not only the hits, but a lot of the album stuff that we did over the years with Rascals. So it should be a lot of fun.
And when was the last time you guys played together? It's been a few years, right?
Well, it's been a few years. We had a reunion in 2013. We did a Broadway show there. And it was kind of interesting. We had all four members at that time, and basically what happened is as I went out to Hawaii and did a show out there, and the people really asked me if there's one more time we could come back, because we were very, very fortunate to be very, very big in Hawaii, and so I said, well, why not? For God's sake, it'd be fantastic if we can go out there and do one more run. So I called up all the guys, and really, the only one that really wanted to do it, was Gene. The other guys were either committed to doing something else or, just weren't in the mood. Right. So we decided to go out, and we grabbed and used Carmine Appice from the Vanilla Fudge for our drummer.
Oh, nice.
So it's a rockin' band, and the nice thing about it is the people we have now are really, really enthusiastic about going out and playing the music that they kind of grew up with,
Yeah, it's that great music. I mean, I've heard it's been called, blue-eyed soul. But man, those songs are just so iconic. Take me back to when you guys actually formed the first time. I always like hearing the band formation story.
Mm-hmm. I was in pre-med up in Syracuse University, and I took a summer off, went to work in the Catskills, and during that period of time, I was kind of discovered, so to speak, by this group, Joey D and the Starlighters, who were about to go to Europe, and unbeknownst to them, their organ player quit. So they called me up and asked me if I'd like to join them. I said, yeah, why not? And I took some time off from school. And during that time, I was able to see this group that was later to become world-renowned. It was called the Beatles. They opened up for Joey in two different places. We worked in Germany and in Sweden. And I really, saw something that, really kind of turned me on. First of all, the audience reaction was unbelievable. Second of all, this was a group that was now writing their own music. And I really said, well, hey, man, I think I can do this. I think this looks like a great thing to do. Let me give it a try. So, I went back to the United States. I worked for a while, and I had to clear up a little bit of problem with the United States government there, and because we had draft in those days. And then I started the band. My idea was to get the best players and best singers that I could find. And it worked. It worked. Within 6 months, we had a record deal. That's a quick synopsis.
No, I'm very impressed. You actually did it much more economically than other music legends. So thank you. I want to ask, of course, your breakout hit, "Good Lovin'." Do you remember where you were when you recorded that and being in the studio? Like, take me into that behind-the-scenes story of when you guys.
Well, it's an interesting story as well, because in those days, as I said, it was kind of unique to write your own songs. And it certainly was unique as far as the club owners that we played for. They didn't want anything to do with originals. They wanted covers.
Right.
And it had to be a cover or you were not allowed to play it. So I went on a kind of a quest to find records that I thought were really cool, that perhaps, were not big hits. People didn't know them. And I would go out and buy the 45 and actually show the club owner, look, this is a record, man. I didn't make this up. And from the first day that we did our version of Good Lovin', people got up and danced. People got up out of their seats. So when Atlantic Records came to see us, we were working at a place in Long Island called The Barge. They obviously asked us to record that, and it was our second release, and it was a smash hit. So no complaints there.
Absolutely. And then what's interesting to me, you go from that, which obviously good loving right out of the gate. That's high energy. That's upbeat. And then you follow it up, but you slow it down into grooving. How did you guys come up with that one?
Well, again, once that record hit, now the kind of status changes between artist and record company, and they're no longer kind of telling you what to do. You're kind of telling them what to do, So we said, well, we're going to go out and write our own songs. And we got pretty lucky, let me tell you, because that's quite a challenge. And we're very fortunate that it worked, because sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes bands disappear because of that desire to create. But grooving came along as I think it was about the third or fourth song that we wrote and put out and had tremendous success with.
Absolutely. Well, there's so many we could go in through. I mean, seriously, go back and check them out again. You forget how many people got to be free, and How Can I Be Sure? But let's go into one more. A Beautiful Morning. You'll hear that still on the, walking through the grocery store, or probably on TV commercials a million times. Take me into the formation of A Beautiful Morning.
Well, again, I bring up the island of Oahu out in Hawaii. The Rascals were huge in Hawaii in the 60s. They took to us as if we were the Beatles. We were very popular. So I was out there, and at that time we had a number one record. I think Groovin' was pretty much on the charts there, and I was madly in love, and here in this gorgeous place. I said, how about if we write a song? How about if we tell people just how good this feels? And, maybe forever they can get this feeling. And it kind of captured the moment, and it still does.
Absolutely. Well, of course, you guys deservedly inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Memories of that night and how special it was to be, you mentioned the Beatles earlier in this interview, but, to be included in that kind of company and finally getting your due. I know a lot of bands, you never work towards that. It's almost like it's great when it happens, but it's still got to feel special to be out there on that night.
Well, I'll tell you really what was really special about it. It's the last time that I saw a lot of people who I really admire, such as the Bee Gees. They were there, and two of them are now gone, of course, and Michael Jackson, and of course he's gone. So a lot of people that we shared the stage with are not around anymore, and that was quite an evening because I think Buffalo Springfield was on that, and I think Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young were also there, and as I say, Jackson 5, Bee Gees. It was an interesting inductions, and that's what I really take from it mostly. Is I saw a lot of my friends that are no longer here.
Definitely, and I know. So, in addition to the Rock Hall of Fame, you've also been inducted in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and I know I've heard other interviews where that was a special treat for you. To be recognized at the songwriting aspect. Who are some of your songwriting heroes?
Well, I came up classically, and then as I got into pop music, I started playing in bands with these phenomenal writers whose names maybe people don't know: Cole Porter, Sammy Cahn, Irving Berlin. I wrote I played all these classicals. A classical bit of masterpiece pop songs, and so to be included anywhere in that group, Hal David, Burt Bacharach, and then we take Lieber, Lieber and Stoller, and the wonderful Motown writers that are there. That was quite a thing. I was really very, very proud of that.
Awesome. Well, you've been more than generous with your time. We can't wait to see you out at the Birchmere on August 16th. In closing, why should our listeners come out? They heard this interview. Why should they come out on that night?
Well, I'll explain to you. In the old days, we did not have the iPhones or the Internets or the Facebooks or the Twitters and all that kind of social media. Our generation was connected by the music. And that's what we try to recreate, is that kind of feeling that everybody knows one another, and, John is in love, and Paul is breaking up, and Keith is in trouble. And that's the kind of mood we create, and everybody gets a chance to sing and kind of relive those moments.
Well, I've appreciated reliving all these moments during this chat. So thank you so much for joining us, Felix. This was great. I love these trips down memory lane, so thank you.
Thank you for your time, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time, and, you take care. Hope to see you.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.
Explain your DNA on 10 cases, man.
You're inside the police interrogation room with the alleged Potomac River rapist.
I'm not guilty on any of this stuff.
So calm, so reasonable. Could this be the man who terrorized women for 9 years before murdering a brilliant scientist 2 decades ago? Experience one of the most fascinating true crime podcasts available. Join crime reporter Paul Wagner for Unknown Subject, Season 3 of WTOP's American Nightmare series. Search American Nightmare Podcast on all podcast platforms.
I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.